First year we started this thing, one of my friends, one of the directors at Pemberton's, came into the office and said, "Are you guys crazy?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You're going to give a bunch of money to students to run? Are you crazy?" And I tried to explain to him what we thought would happen. At the end of the year, he hired one of them, which I thought spoke well for the program.
PMF was an idea generated between Milt Wong, Murray Leith, and Mike Ryan back in the late 1980s. They'd studied together under the same professor in finance, Leslie Wong, and he really inspired them. He brought relevance to the whole subject of finance, and he died prematurely. And they went on to successful careers in finance, and they wanted to do something to honor their late professor and friend, Leslie Wong.
For a number of years, Mike Ryan and Murray Leith were putting money into the finance division at the Faculty of Commerce.
I went to Murray Leith and said, "I want to start something to bring in a visiting professor each year would sort of replace a bit of what Leslie Wong represented."
You know, Murray was a great guy, a great sense of humor. He had a great amount of energy. He was liked by everybody. And Mike was probably the more serious of the three guys. But you know what? If I recall correctly, Mike was one of the first guys to write a check for the fund to get it moving. And when you step up to the plate and write the first check, and I know how big that check was, it encourages many other people to follow.
We only had enough money to bring in a visiting professor every second year. Milt heard about it after a couple of years and joined us. We should have known what was going to happen with Milt joining us.
Milt Wong, who is the third founder, was a man of many visions and many ideas. And he asked to join the two of them in funding this visiting professorship. But he had something in the back of his mind, which was to raise $1 million and to have the students, instead of listening to one more professor, to have them manage this money.
He envisaged practically everything that had to be in place for the program to work. I mean, he was just incredible the way he could see into the future that way.
The story that I tell about the impact that the PMF has is one that takes us back to late last year in 2011 when Tracy McVicker organized a meeting for a number of us to meet Milt Wong at his home. And it was a group of about, I'd say, 10 PMFers, all meeting with Milt. And it was evident that Milt was on his last days, and he was doing his best to give us his time. As it turned out, it was weeks before Milt's passing. What was interesting about that 2-hour meeting that we had with Milt, it was not only a celebration of his life, it was a celebration of the PMF, but all you needed to know about the PMF and how it began was watching Milt, clearly in pain, but going around the room and asking all 10 of us, "What are you doing for the community?" It wasn't about our career, it wasn't about our children, it wasn't about the friendships that we've made or the relationships we have with our mentors. He was actually holding each and every one of us to account for what we were doing in the community. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense, because 25 years ago, he, along with a number of others, sat down and said, "What can we do for the financial community?" And I believe that, given that Milt is indeed a visionary, that his view was, as the individuals come through the PMF program, that they too one day will ultimately be leaders in the community and kickstart programs like the PMF in whatever field of their choosing. And I think 25 years later now, when we find a number of us who are in our 40s and moving into our 50s, we have a duty to take that energy that Milt had created for us and channel that now into other avenues of community engagement. And I think that is probably, in hindsight, the most important gift that the PMF has given outside of the university.
The relationship is one of, I think, that generally speaking, with younger people is one of mentoring and accepting common values that I place a high importance. I think it's important that we share in those ideals of what we want to get out of life. What they bring to my life is that I see in them being future leaders of our community, and that to be part of their growth allows me to grow as well.
There was a purpose, there was a vision that Milt and a number of others had put in place. But the person responsible, I think, single-handedly for putting a plan behind that purpose was Rob Henkel. And in my mind, Rob is the unsung hero of the PMF program over the course of 25 years.
His total dedication to this project comes through in a variety of ways I couldn't describe. But all of the students would know it.
Without question, he has the strongest alumni program of any unit from UBC. It's just incredible. He knows where everybody is. He's so supportive of the students. He's telling me stories how one of the graduates just phoned him from a limousine. She was going up to St. New York to do an underwriting, and the fact that she's making 10 times as much salary as Rob makes, he thinks that's great that she's been so successful.
Well, you know, I've been working with Rob now for 25 years, and I can tell you straight out that this program would not be where it is today. It would not be as successful as it is today without Rob.
The students are always sort of wondering if they're taking up too much of people's time. But there's so many business people that just really enjoy working with students and seeing them develop. And you know, when I retired, Rob sort of asked me, what are you going to do? And I said, well, you know, the only thing I'm going to miss is the association with the students. He phoned me back in about 2 days and he said, we're going to make you a member emeritus of the client committee so that I could continue to have contact with the students. And I just love it. That's not a waste of time. That's just a wonderful part of my life.
It's a great opportunity for the students to not only learn about professional growth, but also about personal growth. And some of the most valuable lessons I took from my mentors actually had nothing to do at all with investments. It had everything to do with how one conducts themselves in this industry, the importance of ethics, and the importance of making sure that at the end of the day, what you take out of this program is your integrity. And so therefore then it's what you put into it. And that's one of the most important things that I think I would convey to a PMF student, not only for the last 25 years, but for the next 25 years.